So we're live one more time. So hello, everybody. Thank you for coming, though I think nobody's coming yet.
Thank you for coming and nobody's coming.
Yes. Okay, my name, if you don't know me, my name is Mónica Stoker, and I'm the author of the blog para aprender inglés. And here with me is Craig Wealand. Okay, Craig, thank you for coming too. Now we have 3 people coming now.
I'm here. I came.
Yeah, okay. So how are you today, Craig?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm fine. Okay, trying to survive. So then we have a very as usual, we have our loyal friend Christine. Hi, Mónica.
Hi, Christine.
Hi, Craig. She's saying, and
Hi,
Rafa. Rafa has the name on there, and Gemma, of course.
And Gemma.
Thank you very much, Gemma, for coming. And today, what's today's topic?
Today's topic is different types of crimes. Last week we spoke about legal vocabulary in general, and we looked at some words and expressions connected to legal English. But this week we're going to focus specifically on crimes, criminals, and the verbs associated with different crimes. So we're going to look at different forms of the words and what they mean, because some of them are quite confusing, aren't they?
Yes, they are. And I'm really surprised when I started looking at all the list of crimes. There are so many crimes and different names for crimes because I think there are a lot of criminals out there. The reason why you have a broad vocabulary in certain areas is because a lot of things are happening.
and they're not always the same in Spanish. Sometimes the translation is not the same and it's confusing.
Sometimes they can be very confusing because you think it's one meaning and there's another meaning. And then the other thing is that you have to have sometimes some legal knowledge to be able to distinguish exactly what it is. And another thing I discovered is that sometimes in South America, some of the translations are not exactly the same as in Spain because of the different terminology, legal terminology, no? Exactly. So we can start by, I'm going to take the first one, which is a very easy one, and I wanted to start by stealing as the crime, and stealing because it's a very generic word. It's very, it covers everything. And so the verb is to steal, and we have the person who steals is a thief. Okay, thieves. But the funny thing in English, I think in Spanish too, but I don't have a very good knowledge in Spanish of the different names of different kinds of thieves. But I know Craig knows a lot about this. The burglar.
In Spanish or in English? In Spanish, no, in English, you mean?
In English, there are a lot of names.
In Spanish, I haven't got a clue what they're called.
No. In Spanish, not. But in English, you know a lot of these names because in English, there are many different names according to the type of, the way of stealing. So it's very interesting to see this because depending on the type of action, you're going to have a different name. In thief, remember the plurals with V, thieves, that is generic. Thief can be anybody, no? Anybody that steals. And that is a very helpful vocabulary, because you can use it in any occasion, okay? They stole my money, they stole my purse, whatever. But now we're going to get into something that is a little bit more complex.
Just 1 second. Can you go back 1 second, Mónica? Yes. I want to add one more thing. First of all, the verb to steal is irregular. So you have steal, stole, stolen. Someone has stolen my money. Yeah. And one more thing, although thief is the person, there is another word for the crime, which is theft. So T-H-E-F-T, theft is also the crime. And as we said last time we spoke about crime, some of these words collocate with to commit. So again, you can commit theft. Theft is the noun. The person is a thief, but a thief steals things. So the crime is also stealing.
But theft, I find that theft is something more, it's more formal for many times you find this in a written English and not so much in spoken English, no?
Yeah.
As far as I know.
Rafa is ahead. Rafa's ahead of the game. Rafa's jumping ahead there because he knows the word
Rafa,
burglar.
You know, and I hope you have never been burglar. Okay, tell us about to burgle.
Yeah, so burgle is one way of stealing things, but burgling it collocates with a property. So you can burgle a flat, which means you go inside the flat and you steal things. You can burgle a house. You go into the house and you steal things. You can burgle an office. You go into the office and you steal things. So burgle is stealing, but collocates goes together with particular places, houses, flats, offices, etc. Burgle is the verb, and as Rafa knows, the person is a burglar, and Rafa's put the correct spelling in the chat.
Yeah, I wanted to say something about this. In Spanish, I found a very nice translation for this verb, and it's desvalijar. Desvalijar.
I've learned a new word today.
Yeah, desvalijar. That's the correct word to translate it, because I didn't know either. No, I wasn't familiar, but when I read that, I said, oh yeah, that's right, because it's really to enter into a house and take the things that you have in the house. It's not to rob, it's not to mug, it's completely different word. Okay, and the burglar usually is the one that is with goes in with gloves and, you know, the ones that you see in the films, and with a mask, like the Pink Panther goes and breaks into the house, no? The one that breaks into the house, that's a burglar. You're a burglar. You have to be like professional, no? And,
yes.
Yes.
And the vowel sound of burgle or burglar is so it's the same as in words like nurse or learn, aprender, learn. It's that sound, burglar, to burgle.
Okay, and then we have to mug. It's funny because
this is a mug.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say that. I don't have a mug here, but it's una jarrita. Mug is as a noun, right? Because
as a noun.
Yeah, but wait, when it's a verb, then have you ever been mugged? Have you ever been mugged?
Have I ever been mugged? That's a good question. I've never been mugged in Spain, although my dad was mugged in Barcelona.
Oh,
They stole his passport. If you mug someone, then you steal from them in the street. Now, sometimes it's with violence. You pull a knife or a gun, or you hit somebody. So when you steal something from a person with violence or a violent intention, that is mugging someone. So mugging with double G is the crime. The person is a mugger, and the verb is to mug. I can't remember if I've been mugged. Have you ever been mugged?
No, that's
lucky for you.
Fortunately, I haven't been mugged. But in some countries or in some places, it's quite easy to be mugged. So it depends on where you go. No, you have to be careful. But I have not been mugged. No, I have
lucky
been. I think that as
have you been burgled?
Neither, not. But my brother was. I remember one time, and in Bulgaria, he was living for a while in Bulgaria, and they took his computer and many things. And in my case, well, I didn't want to get into that because there are too many. I was pickpocketed. There are too many.
Christine has a good. Christine has a good question. If you can put that question on the screen, Monica. Ransacking. To ransack a property or a house.
Wait. Where's Christine? Oh, yeah. Christine is our advanced student because she always is using very sophisticated vocabulary.
And I really have to think about how to explain Christine's vocabulary, the questions that Christine has, because they're quite difficult.
Yeah.
To ransack a house, to make you go inside, Christine, and you make a really big mess of the property. So you can be burgled, but they just steal things and they go. But if they ransack your house or ransack your flat, they tip things out of the drawer and they break the glasses and they take things out of your cupboard and your wardrobe. So to ransack a house is to make a complete mess of the property.
So, for example, you could say something like, burglars ransacked her home, something like that, because the burglar, the way of acting is more aggressive, no? Destroying things is more destructive. And I don't know, at this moment, I cannot think of a word for that. And then Rafa said something, I was saying that Christine is a C2 level. Rafa says...
Rafa was mugged in Madrid.
I've been mugged, double G and ED, no? Mugged.
Yeah, I was mugged, will be better, Rafa. I was mugged in Madrid. Yeah, Madrid can be dangerous. Madrid and Barcelona.
And Rafa also says, it's funny because in South America, I use the word valijas to talk. Yeah, desvalijar probably is a very old word, desvalijar, but it makes sense to me. For me, it's a very good translation of to burgle.
To burgle.
Mugged. I haven't been mugged, no.
Emma's been mugged as well. Yeah,
everybody in the past, And Rafa said in Madrid. So I have not, I've been pickpocketed. Carterista. Yeah. It was I didn't really realize. This is a little bit less aggressive because you don't even realize somebody's stealing from you, no? Because you don't know who did it, and it usually happens in my case, it was on a bus, but it can be in the underground and places like that. We don't have that word, by the way, pickpocket. I had to stop putting words because there were many words. I thought, well, let's go back here. We have to rob and to steal. To steal was, okay, we already said it.
Yeah, generic. So we've looked at to burgle, we've looked at to mug, mugger, and mugging is the verb. Now to rob, again, is stealing, but similar to burgle, it's collocation that makes the difference. So I said you burgle a flat, you burgle a house, but you rob a bank, for example, or you rob a post office. Now, if someone burgles a house, you can say, I have been robbed, using the passive. So yes, you can use rob when people have stolen from you, but generally when you speak about people stealing things, just remember the difference of rob and burgle is often collocation. Rob a bank robber, and burgle a house or burgle a flat. And as we said before, stealing is the general umbrella word for all of the other words, to mug, to burgle, to rob. It's all stealing. You're stealing money or you're stealing possessions. And you can steal somebody's identity as well.
Yeah, and for the next word, I just want to, because we already mentioned this, I just want to emphasize that in this case, in the case of mug, is outside, and robbery, it's a collocation, is usually inside. No, it could be like a bank, and so the difference basically is outside, inside. No, because it could also be violent. Usually. It depends. Yeah, because a robbery is usually, well, like in Spanish, atracar. When you go and you say your life or the money, that's robbery.
my life. I'm saving money. Take my life. I want to keep the money.
This is so I like the word robber. He is a robber.
It's a robber. Rafa's asking about pickpocket, to pick.
Yeah, I mentioned
P-I-C-K.
that word. Yeah,
Rafa, it's when you have something in your pocket like some money or a passport, and somebody without you knowing picks your pocket. The person is a pickpocket, and the crime is pickpocketing.
To pick, and that's in Spanish is carterista. And carterista comes from cartera, there's a wallet. So it's somebody who steals wallet. Maybe one of them means hurto. Well, hurto is a legal definition. Yeah. As you know, Rafa, hurto is without violence, is without breaking in anything. And in Spanish definition is that contrary to stealing, that stealing is really you use violence and you use you can break into a building, no? But in English, I would say that, let me see if I can find the difference here.
While you're looking, let me just say that Rafa, it's mug. The person who mugs is a mugger, M-U-G-G-E-R, a mugger.
They don't have, in English, we don't have the same definition. It says just robbery, theft, like Craig said at the beginning, no? There's the word for, the noun for stealing. And let me see. Christine mentions raid, but raid is it's an attack. Actually, a raid is when I remember many years ago there was an insecticide called Raid. I don't know if you ever said that. They still make it. You can buy it. Also. Yeah, that for me was a very good way to remember the meaning of this word, because if you raid the house with these insecticides, all the mosquitoes fly away, and suddenly this is the idea, no? That is when you, for example, police raid a house, they go everywhere, no?
It's also good with cockroaches. Raid if you have cockroaches in your house.
So in this case, it's just a way to get rid of mosquitoes, but it's the same way. It's the same thing that the police can do in a house or in a public building, you know, to try to get as many criminals as possible, or potential criminals, or I don't know. It's very violent.
It's like an entry by force, but it's not only the police. Do you remember when the Trump supporters raided the Capitol building in Washington, and they ran up the steps and they broke into, there's that phrasal verb again, to break into. They broke into the Capitol Hill and they raided the offices of the politicians.
Mm-hmm,
so
correct.
It collocates often with police, but it's not only the police. You can also raid a building if everybody runs in together.
I thought it was only the police, because this term is taken from the militaries. I think it's a military word from the army, no? My light is too bright here. I'm trying to get rid of the light. Okay, so what I read, redada, Rafa, good, redada. He says redada.
There's an attack on a bank.
Redada, una redada. That's very good, Rafa. That's so good.
Attack on a bank or shop in which the thieves use weapons.
Sorry, I'm going to turn off the light here because I think it's better. No, still I have a lot of light. Okay. What were we saying, Christine? I read was an attack on a bank.
You're right, Monica. I'm just reading now I've asked Mr. Google. Mr. Google says a raid is a rapid surprise attack on an enemy by troops, aircraft, or other armed forces. So you're absolutely correct. Like a bombing raid, for example.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's also another meaning.
I read that. I think you mean raid, no? Raid, Christine, you mean raid, no? I read that it was an attack on a bank, shop, especially one in which the thieves use weapons. Yeah, usually is the case because they need to control the criminals, and the way to do it is to have a lot of police with weapons too, to try to counterattack, no, and control the situation. Well, and Felipe says there's a meme.
Your money or your life?
Money,
life? Dude,
Good,
I'm married. Yeah, funny. That's funny.
Okay, let's go back to her. We are assault. We're doing this together. Assault was in the capital. This for me was an assault, but
we just gave the perfect example: assault on the Capitol in Washington.
But it can also be also
on
has
a person.
On a person, and then it can be a sexual. Let me see.
Exactly.
It's a physical attack on someone. It's a physical.
Yes.
You can assault a police officer. You can assault anybody who's walking on the street. So it's physical. Try to attack someone and also do some sexual.
It's not. Rafa's asking about the preposition. It depends, Rafa. If it's a verb, then there's no preposition. You assault someone. Oh, I was assaulted by another person. However, when it's a noun, yes, you're right. There's often the preposition on.
Exactly.
There was an assault on the Parliament, for example. So when it's a noun, yes, with on. When it's a verb, usually no preposition.
Mm-hmm. When it's a verb, no preposition again. And when it's a noun, there is a preposition that is on. Oh, there was an assault on, for example, the director of the company. Or he pleaded guilty to assaulting a police officer, for example. Okay, and let me see. Assault. The good thing is that one thing I want to say was about the person. The criminal is an attacker and not an assaulter, though you're going to find that word in the dictionary. But Gray said to me, "No, I never heard that, so it doesn't exist."
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I said it's not common. I said it's not a common. I think I said it's not a common. I would say an attacker, a person who assaults you, is an attacker.
But sometimes,
not an assaulter.
Sometimes my students start asking me, "Do you know this word and this and that?" And I said, "No, that word doesn't exist." And I go to the dictionary, I find the word, and I said, "I don't know. It exists, but I never heard it." Because
you know. There's one thing I've learned all these years being a teacher. Don't give any extreme definite rules. No. You need to say that's not common, or people don't usually say that, or that's not a usual thing to say, because when you say that's a rule or people never do that, there'll always be a student who gives you an example.
And this happened to me at the beginning when I started teaching. And from then onwards, I said, I do what you say. Like I said, I think it doesn't exist, but it could be, maybe in another country. I don't know. I have no idea. Okay, let me check it out. Okay.
Yes, Christine, that's correct. Trump supporters led an all-out assault on the Capitol. Correct, Christine.
Wait. Let's go see. Trump supporters. Okay, this is a C1, C2 student. Trump supporters led an all-out assault on the Capitol. Very good. Very good. So we don't know the words of our languages, many times, because in English, I can tell you it's very difficult because there are like a million words, so it's very difficult to know all the words. And led.
The past of lead.
Yeah,
past it. Was spelling mistake, so led.
Okay, shoplifting. I like this one, but I don't know. I'm confused now. I don't know whose turn is it. Is your turn or my turn? Because we've been talking a lot.
We can do it. We can do it together.
Shoplifting, I love it because this is Hurto en tiendas. This is the word. This is for Rafa. Rafa was asking about Hurto. And usually in shops, this is the word Hurto in Spanish. Because shops, you don't really break into the shop. You just make like nobody's looking at you. You're trying to, and you just put it in your pocket and go away. That is shoplifting. Shop and lift. So
you don't lift the shop. You steal things from the shop.
The shop, and you're a shoplifter. Have you ever been a shoplifter? Honestly,
I have. When I was about 14 or 15, I have a friend. I have a friend still. He's still my best friend, and we shoplifted books from a bookstore. But we wanted some books on astronomy, and we didn't have the money to buy them. So we went into the shop and we shoplifted. Oh, and also I shoplifted some sweets in a sweet shop, some chocolate, when I was 14 or 15.
Earlier than you did, because I was about 6 when I did it.
Really?
Yes. I remember I thought it was no crime. I thought, I went it was a kind of cacao for the lips, and I remember I took it, and my father saw me, and he said, "Don't you know that that's not allowed?" And I said, "Oh, really?" I just put it in the pocket.
Yeah, but 6 years old, you're very young.
I was very young, but I thought it was possible to do this and nobody would see you, I was
kleptomaniac, says Christine. Yeah. Really enjoyed dropping in on shops. I love the use of dropping in on 3-word phrasal verbs. That's got to be 10 points in Scrabble.
Yeah.
Dropping in on shops. A kleptomaniac is a person, is it the same in Spanish, who steals things?
Yes, like exactly the same.
Phobia almost. It's a compulsion, isn't it?
Yeah. And Rafa is telling a story when I was a child and the owner catch me.
Caught me, Rafa. It's an irregular verb. So catch, caught, taught. Like teach, taught. So the owner
Felipe is here. My father is a battery lift. He usually puts battery in his pocket and forget to pay for it. Sometimes.
So does he ever get charged by the police?
Yes. Arturo,
charge a battery? No, never mind.
Shoplifting is an illegal activity, of course, but sometimes people do it when they're, especially children, and sometimes it's because they're kleptomaniacs and they cannot help it,
But yes, it's illegal. Yeah.
Yeah, it is illegal, of course. That's why we're talking about crimes today, and we have many. Okay, let me see. Next one. Was it? This one. I also like this one because we don't have really a word in Spanish. Maybe somebody comes up with a new word for me, but we don't.
Isn't it connected to pyrotechnica or pyro, like burning?
Yeah, but pyrotechnica is when for firecrackers, when there's a celebration, but that's legal. That's the control. But this is something piromano. But yes. Piromano is someone who an arsonist. Who likes to burn things, it's true. But I don't know the crime, because in English there is a name of the crime. Maybe somebody says it.
Piromania.
Yeah. Gemma's asking, are subtitles essential? Well, for Gemma, the thing is that there's a way for us to organize the talk, because in this way, if we don't have the subtitles, we don't know exactly what we're going to talk about. Because it's more than a subtitle; it's just a banner of
the subtitles are our lesson plan.
Yeah, exactly, our lesson plan, because we have to coincide, no?
Yes, Rafa, I was thinking about Winona Ryder as well when we were speaking about shoplifting, because she was accused and charged with shoplifting years ago. So I was thinking of the actress as well, Winona Ryder. And with arson, one problem with English sometimes is that the one word has no relation or no connection in the spelling to the Spanish word. And how can you remember it? Well, one trick, if you can associate the English word with what the word means, with a picture in your mind, it's easier to remember. For example, my favorite football team is Arsenal. Arsenal has a stadium. So if you imagine Arsenal, very, very similar. If you imagine the stadium burning on fire, the Arsenal football stadium, you can connect Arsenal to the meaning of to catch fire. So using that trick to make a picture in your head to remember a word that has no connection or doesn't have any apparent connection with Spanish.
Yeah, and there's no verb here.
To burn.
Well, yeah, but
I suppose.
Generic, because arson is actually a noun. And
you'd use commit. You'd use the collocation to commit arson, to commit murder, to commit, etc.
And then, well, I think this is for me. I don't know if there's a mnemotechnia, Rafa says. Mnemotechnia. It's a firebug. Let me see.
A firebug. I don't know that word, Christine. I'd have to check.
You see what happens with words in English? So I never heard that. Me neither. I don't know. I never heard that.
What does that mean?
What is in Francisco? It is a pathology. Yes, arson is a pathology because you feel also stealing from shoplifting many times.
It's a restaurant. It's a restaurant in Barcelona. Firebug Barcelona brunch bar bistro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what it means.
Sorry, Christine.
Okay.
I don't know that
now
one.
This one, blackmail. I am going to blackmail you, Craig, because I've seen you doing things that are, I don't know,
do you know my secrets, Monica?
Yeah, I know your secrets. And so what I can do is I can blackmail you and I say to you, okay, Craig, if you don't give me this amount of money, I am going to tell the police about what you're doing. And so because you're afraid of me telling the truth, you pay me. And that is to blackmail. I like this term, blackmail, because it's like correo negro, something like that. And probably because sometimes you write this and I don't know. Probably, and it's something dark. This is the dark side.
I think it comes from Scotland or England when people had to pay the landowner like a rent. They used to have to pay money to the landowner.
Yeah.
They called it black money because it wasn't legal. Really, they didn't like having to pay. So I think it originates from the time when you lived in a village and you paid the person who had the land.
Exactly.
So that's where it's from. It's not connected to mail like.
I thought that, but you're right, because it says the word blackmail is variously derived from the word for tribute in modern terms, racket, protection racket, paid by English and Scottish border dwellers to border reivers in return for immunity from raids and other harassment.
Wow, from raids, there you go.
From raids, so it was to avoid raids, so being attacked. No, so a blackmailer is somebody. So in Spanish we have the word extorsionar or chantajear for this word. Okay, mug again. We have mug. It's good to remember because we said at the beginning, but it's good to remember because it's quite confusing, this one. So it's Craig, I leave it to you, this word.
I think we've covered that. Mug, we said that before, when you steal money with a threat of violence on the street, it usually happens outside. So when you burgle, you're going inside a house or a property and you're stealing from inside. But when you mug somebody, it's usually on the street. And the person who mugs is a mugger.
Okay.
And this is a mug and there's no connection.
There's no connection whatsoever, but we can look for the etymology of the word. And I don't know if you, let me see. What is the origin of this word? I'm sometimes, mug, to beat up, originally to strike the face. From face, mug is face. The general meaning, attack. Attack to rob.
Attack to rob.
That's the meaning. Attack to rob. Okay, next one. What is the next one? Embezzlement. Oh, this one. Also, I like this one. Embezzle and embezzler. Embezzlement is when you're supposed, for example, Craig says to me, oh, Mónica is such an honest person. I'm going to leave her some amount of money I need to keep in a safe. And I'm going to deposit the money with her in her safe, and she's going to take care because she's going to do some things for me, like she has to do some paperwork. So I gave you some amount in deposit, and then I think, oh, this is nice. I can have this money for a while. Maybe I can use it for another thing. And I go shopping and I buy myself clothes and other things. That is to embezzle, because he trusted me to do something to take care of this money. And instead of taking care of the money, I spent the money. And when he comes asking, I said, what money? I had no money. You never gave me any money. And this is a disaster. No? But it happens. And it happens a lot in the governments, because a public servant, a civil servant, public officer, is supposed to take care of certain public money, right? And that many times is not true. They use the money for other purposes that are not supposed to be used for those purposes. And that is to embezzle. That is the verb. And the person who does it is an embezzler. So I think we have a lot of examples of this kind of crime, right?
Unfortunately, yes. If you're corrupt and you work for an organization or a bank or a company and you're stealing money illegally from that company or organization, you are embezzling money. So sadly, it happens very, very often.
It could
People
be
stealing money.
A cashier, for example. This is
Rafa says Spain was embezzled. Not a country. It would have to be embezzling money from an organization or a company, for example. So imagine you work for the Olympic Committee and you're stealing money that should be for the Olympic Games. You are embezzling money from the Olympic organization or the Football Association or the bank or a company you work for. You're illegally stealing money from them and putting it in your bank account. Mm-hmm. So you can't really embezzle a country. That's not a common
well, but I think he means in a figurative way, right, Rafa? Because it's in a figurative way. Yes, true, because it's the public money. No, usually it happens. Some people, no country. Francisco said, rightly so, Francisco. There's some people who embezzle money. Okay, what do we have next? Oh, this one is a good one for you.
Okay, well, stalk, you may know stalk, the noun, as a piece of a plant or a flower. It's the stem or the green part, usually, of a plant. But there's a meaning with crime, because if you follow somebody and annoy them and harass them, to harass is molestar, I think, in Spanish.
Acosar, more acosar.
Acostar, so it's stronger.
No, acosar.
Acosar. To harass someone, then you are a stalker. If you're bothering them, you're following them home every day, you're phoning them, you're harassing them online. You can be an online stalker as well. So you can follow somebody regularly on the internet to the point where you are invading their privacy. So that is a stalker. And the crime is stalking, and you can go to prison if you're caught. So it might not involve any physical contact or violence, but you are invading the privacy of someone when you stalk them.
Yeah, this is more common than we think. Huh? This happens a lot on the internet and social media when, for example, there are some influencers that are become famous, and then they get some stalkers around them because the people want to be next to celebrities. They find that where they live, and it's and what would you say is the difference between to harass and to stalk? This is also collocation, I think, because a stalk for me is more like not really executing. It's just more, that you don't see the person. The other, you don't let. It's not like face-to-face confrontation. The stalker is always hiding and trying to see what you do, and the harasser is the relationship in a company or in another relationship that you confront the person all the time with saying things that are nasty and all that. Do you think that's the difference? I think that also, for me, that's the difference.
I think so, yeah. And also I'd add that I think stalking's more serious. I think you can harass someone, but it's not necessarily a crime. You can harass them just once. You can it's like bothering somebody.
Yeah.
Bothering them, being a nuisance. You're harassing me, you're bothering me, go away. But when you stalk someone, it's consistent and you follow them home, or you go everywhere on the internet that they are, and you start to invade and go inside their life, and maybe they live in fear. So I think stalking's more serious than harassing.
Here Felipe says there's a difference. It's true. Stalking is more acechar, and to harass is more acosar. And also harass can be sexual harassment. You have to put the adjective. There's one type of harassment that is sexual. Not all the harassment is sexual, because it can be just if I start saying terrible things to Craig, but not sexually. But
which word, Rafa, do you want us to write? Is it harassment that you want us to write? That's double S, so that's HARASS is the verb to harass, and the noun, as Monica said, is harassment.
No,
double S, one R, Felipe, double S, harass.
Harass and harassment. Let's see if I can say this. No, but this is in the chat. I have to write it. Sorry. I have to make a banner for this. Wait a minute.
You can write it in the chat, I think, Monica. I can't, but you can, because you started.
Yeah, I know. I already, but I think so everybody can see it, because otherwise in the chat maybe you don't see it.
All right.
Harass and harassment. It's the right spelling, right? Yeah. Harass. Yes. We're talking all the time about harass and harassment. And we didn't have that word because there are so many. I said at the beginning, there are so many crimes that we don't have enough space here to write the crimes. Now.
Just one R, Hema, with harass. Just one R.
Okay. Let's go back to the list. And now we have kidnapping, kidnap, and kidnapper. This is my word, I think. And funny, here I want to say that this is, it refers to a person always, because later we'll see another word that is similar in Spanish, is to hijack, which refers to an object. But kidnap comes from children. A kid is a child. And usually because at the beginning, I think the word originated from a kidnapping. So when the child is sleeping, because a nap is una siesta, so there comes somebody and snatches the kid and takes it away from the parents, for example. And that word now refers to any kind of person, no? That can be kidnapped. No, at the beginning.
I think it was when the American colonies, like British colonies in America, and they used to take children to work as slaves or servants for the English colonists. So they used to steal these children and take them away, kidnap them. But now, as Monica said, it can be an adult, anyone, not only a child.
Yeah, that's the origin of the word. But it's a funny word. The first time I saw this word, I thought, oh, what a funny word, kid and nap. Like
children sleeping,
Yeah, children sleeping. There's nothing to do. And that's the reason. That's the origin of this word. Now, you have, let me see if there's any other. Okay, no. This one, Craig.
Yeah, this one's easy. This is when you take your money and you put it in your washing machine to clean it, right? Yeah. Money laundering. That's logical? No, it's not. I'm joking. If you get money illegally, for example, through gambling or prostitution or smuggling or robbing a bank, that money is not clean money. It's dirty money. It's illegal money. So you need to clean it. One thing you can do is go to a casino, and if you exchange the money for other people's money, it's clean. Nobody can trace it. Nobody can find it. So a money launderer is a person who cleans money for illegal, for people who have stolen money or people who are earning money illegally. And you often see this in mafia films. The mafia have got all this money from drugs and prostitution, but they can't spend it, they can't use it, so they need to open a business, they need to open an Italian restaurant, and that business cleans the money, makes it legal. So that's money laundering.
I didn't add this word, sorry. I didn't add this word because I thought it was too much, but Rafa, is smuggle is to contrabando, contrabandear, I think in Spanish, no? De contrabando. That's the.
It's a nice word to say, isn't it? Smuggle. Smuggle.
Smuggle. Usually in Spain, it was Gibraltar. Sometimes people smuggle things to La Línea in Andalucía, and it's usually cigarettes or alcohol or things that are more expensive.
And the south of Spain as well, the Costa del Sol, lots of smuggling happens across from Africa, drugs especially.
Drugs, yeah. And Christine says maybe harass can be hostigar. Yeah, it could be, probably. And literally, smuggle, I don't know, maybe. Money launder, yeah. Money launder is the same in Spanish, lavado de dinero negro.
Blanquear dinero.
Blanquear dinero, yeah, it's the same, it's true. Yeah, blanquear dinero, like Gemma is saying. A lottery is, Francisco says, lottery is a good way to clean money. I didn't know about the casino. You gave me some ideas. Maybe next time I have to do some money laundering, I'll go to the casino.
The problem is, Monica, sometimes you have to win, because if you take all your money to the casino and you lose everything, you haven't laundered anything, you've lost it. That's the problem with casinos. They always win.
Okay,
and so does the lottery.
Here we have a word, trespassing. Trespassing is it's when you get into a property and you're not the owner or the tenant of that property. You have nothing to do with the property, and you decide to trespass. So to just jump in, and many times it can be to steal, but other times it's nothing. You just get in there because of different reasons. That is illegal, okay? And here in Spanish, it has a very technical name. It's allanamiento, which is the difference between this and another verb you'll see later that in Spanish is ocupar, is that in the next one is you have a purpose. You want to be in the house. But in trespassing, you're just in there because of different reasons, because maybe you want to get your bowl that fell in the garden of the neighbor. Even in that case, you should ring the bell and say, can I get my bowl? Or can you get it for me? Because if you did this in a moment when you were not supposed to do, you were not allowed to do this, it's a crime. And they could report you to the police. It said, this person, Craig, was trespassing my property. So many times, I remember in the United States, it says like a big sign, no trespassing. And in some areas, in some areas, especially, I suppose, public buildings and all that, because it's also considered private property. Private property in our society is very important. So you're not supposed to get in there. No way, not even if you go through the door, because you're not allowed to be there. It's not your property. And that in Spanish is called allanamiento. Okay, and so the next one, I put the next one for
1 second. Let's answer Christine's question first. We use breaking and entering, meaning allanamiento de morada. It's different, Christine, because if you're breaking and entering, you're going inside a property. If you're trespassing, legally it's on the person's land.
Then I didn't say that very clearly, but it's land. Yeah, the land. And besides, the meaning here is different. You say allanamiento de morada, and well, now you explain squatting. Let's go to the next one. You can explain this one.
Squatting, yes, to squat. The verb to squat has, I can think of two meanings. One is not connected to crime. It's when you bend your knees and go lower. So if you're doing exercises at the gym, you do squats. And if you're speaking to a child who's very small, maybe you squat down to speak at the same level. But that's got nothing to do with crime. The meaning in this sense is to go into a house that's not occupied or a flat and live there. Now, you don't pay rent. It's not your place. So you go inside and you squat. You live there and you do not pay any rent. Of course, that's illegal, but it's very difficult for someone to remove you legally from that property. The person is a squatter and the crime is squatting.
And Christine was saying, this will be allanamiento de morada, I think. Because morada means house in Spanish, sorry.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
And the squatter is el ocupa. But in Spanish from Spain, we use the word ocupa and ocupar.
Occupier.
Yeah,
occupier.
Exactly. Un ocupa. But I suppose this word is different in other countries, in Spanish-speaking countries, because it's not this. It could be that it's not the same. But the word in English is squatter. And then I have, if there are no more questions or comments, hijacking. I was talking about kidnapping some moments ago. Hijacking is for objects. Usually can be a car, a helicopter, a plane. So a hijacker is the typical criminal that would go onto the plane. And in the past, it was quite common. They hijacked planes all the time. But because this started to happen, now we have this, when we check in an airport, they're going to see if you are carrying any weapons, because hijacking is quite dangerous for the plane and for the passengers. So I think this kind of crime was less common nowadays, no?
Also the security has been changed. Like before, I can remember when I was younger, flying in an aeroplane, and I could go inside and sit next to the pilot, and the pilot explained the controls to me. I remember that. But since 9/11 in America, they've completely changed the restrictions, and they have video cameras, and you cannot go where the pilot sits. And that's really reduced, I think, the amount of hijackings.
Yeah, it's not very common anymore, but it can still happen. For example, the ships, and when they go into Africa, there are many of these very, very, let's say, there are some of these army or guerrillas that are like in Nigeria, I think. They hijack the whole ship. They just get in there and they take control of it, no?
Yes.
Anilu says, in Mexico es paracaidistas. No, this is ocupa. It's for the word ocupa. And Francisco says, morada es residencia habitual. And Rafa says, morada is purple in Spanish too.
I knew that, Rafa. I knew that meaning of morada, but I didn't know the other meaning.
The paracaidistas are the ocupas in Mexico. Okay. Banner. So hijacking. And now again, we go back to murder. And maybe we should do this together, because murder, I wanted also to mention this. So murder is... Okay.
Yeah, no. Well, I'm sure you probably know what murder means. It means to kill someone illegally. Just be careful with the pronunciation, because again, that vowel sound is like learn or burgle.
Yeah.
So murder, a murderer. But Monica, what's the difference between to murder and to assassinate?
Assassinate.
Different verbs in English.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about this because this is a very easy mistake, because in Spanish it's asesinar in both cases. Usually we don't use the word magnicidio. Actually, I never use that word. So assassinate is to kill a famous person or somebody like a politician. For example, we talk about Kennedy's assassination, because Kennedy was the president of the United States. So they use the word assassination. They don't use the word murder. That's why you see assassination. And there's a famous game that I see my son and my husband playing. I think it's called, maybe you even know, Gray, Assassin's Creed or something like that. And I suppose it has something to do with this. Everybody plays this game. There's a guy that's jumping all over and
I've heard of it. I think it's also, is it a film as well? Maybe.
I suppose it's a film too.
Assassin's Creed. I think it's maybe the film is based on the game.
Could be perfectly, because I just want to emphasize that if you see the word assassination in a newspaper in English, do not confuse it with murder, because murder is just anybody. Okay. You kill anybody. There's not an important person, a celebrity or a politician, and no. Well, I would say the assassination is more for politicians, actually, more than celebrities. Would you say, for example, when they killed John Lennon, was a murder?
Yes, John Lennon was assassinated. Anyone famous? Anyone famous?
Okay.
A politician, a religious leader. So if you're not famous, you're murdered, you're killed, and if you are famous, you're assassinated.
Exactly. You have a different name.
So if you're assassinated, you know you've been successful in your life.
Well, that is very relative. Assassin's Creed. Yeah, everybody's saying it. Yeah, that's why. Remember that word from that game?
Yeah, it's a film.
Okay, it's magnicidion. Okay, what a game. Everybody likes it. Yeah, and it's a film. Rafa says it's a film. Yes, everybody likes it because I've seen it. A lot of people playing that. Okay, banners. Let's see. What else do we have? Oh, this one is well, I don't know. We can talk together. Craig, I'm lost now. Trafficking. Okay, this is with drug. This is collocation with drug trafficking. No.
Or people.
Oh, people. Yeah, people. Also, this is the problem with
human trafficking.
Human trafficking. Unfortunately, this happens nowadays, and they do this a lot in Nigeria and countries like that. No? They're very violent.
So no connection. I don't think there's a connection with traffic like cars and buses and taxis, is there?
No, but I think so. It's another use.
It's the idea of moving something, maybe.
Yeah,
or moving.
There's a thing, but it's another meaning. But let me see. Trafficking probably is also, the origin for me is Latin. Mm-hmm. To buy and sell. Well, look. The
illegally.
Origin is 1540, and preserving the original commercial sense. No, it doesn't say illegally. It says to buy and sell. What happened is traficar, but it became a word to describe a crime, because probably what you were selling, the product that you were selling, was not legal. So probably trafficking was to buy and sell, but if you start buying and selling drugs, then it's not buying and sell. This is not trading. This is trafficking, no? And then this is the last one here is very easy, no? Okay, Craig?
I think it's similar in Spanish. Yeah, I think you say vandal in Spanish. But it comes from, I think it's from a Nordic or a Norse word, or maybe from the Germanic tribes, the Vandals from Scandinavia, who came to European countries to steal and rape. And that's another crime we haven't mentioned, rape. But, vandalism, to vandalize. Vandalize is the verb. In the US, it's with a Z. In British English, it's spelled with an S. Vandalism is the crime, which is a bit different from the ing crimes we've seen: trespassing, mugging, shoplifting, etc. So it's vandalism, and ism is the crime, and the person is a vandal. When you destroy public property and you spray graffiti everywhere and break the bus stops and smash windows, that's vandalism.
Vandals. That's the same in Spanish. Vándalos. That was the name of the tribe. No.
I think we're nearly out of time. Shall we quickly do a recap of the vocabulary one final time?
So we can
summarize.
Yes. Steal, thief, robar.
And to burgle is to steal from a property, from a house or an office or a flat. Mug in the street outside with violence, usually hitting or with a knife. And rob a bank. Remember that collocation: to rob a bank, to burgle a house. And to steal is take something that's not yours.
And then we have robbery, to rob, the verb, and a robber, pues atracar, and un atracador. And it's usually, it could be a bank, as collocation, like Craig said. With bank, it's inside. Then we have, for you, Craig.
To assault, to attack someone. So assault is a crime. Sexual assault is a common collocation. And the person who assaults someone is an attacker.
Shoplifting and shoplift and a shoplifter is to... No, you don't do that. You just go in a shop and you take something without anybody seeing you, or trying that nobody sees you, okay? Hurto en tiendas. Then arson.
Arson, remember the Arsenal Stadium burning on fire? So it's to do with fire, and an arsonist is the person who sets fire to things and burns things. To commit arson, that's the collocation. Bye, Christine. Christine's going.
Okay. Blackmail, very easy. Blackmail and blackmailer. We saw that was extorsionar, chantajear. And
Mug we had before, to assault someone in the street, to get money from them or hit them or commit violence against them. And a mugger is the person.
Embezzlement, embezzler is malversar fondos. When you're, especially when you're a public officer, somebody who is in charge of custody of money or assets, and you just use it for your own purpose.
Stalking, to annoy someone to the point of crossing the line, to follow people, also possible online, to be an online stalker, molestar or acosar someone illegally.
To kidnap, kidnapping is the crime, kidnap is the verb, and kidnapper is el secuestrador. Secuestrar people, okay? People, not things.
Money laundering, to clean money, not with water, but through a business or some kind of legal activity. So to pass money through something legal, to change illegal money to clean legal money.
Trespassing, that is allanamiento. So when you invade the property, your property that is not yours, you just get in a house with, a house and a piece of land. You don't need to go in the house, just the piece of land, because whatever reason, no? That's not legal.
And to squat is the verb. To squat is to live illegally in a place that is not yours and you do not pay rent. So you're living in a place illegally because you're occupying it without permission. And you are a squatter if you do that.
Hijacking, hijack and hijacker is apropiación, secuestro. No? When we talked about planes, usually there was the most common one, but it can also be ships, it can be a bus, it can be a car, whatever, that you try to, you force the people to do things that you want them to do by, using a weapon, and you use the vehicle as a mean of, let's say, as a mean to commit this crime, no?
Mm-hmm. Murder, to kill someone, to take their life, and if they happen to be important, like a politician, then it's called assassination.
Yeah,
to assassinate.
And assassin. And then we have trafficking collocation with drugs. It's, in Spanish, is traficar. And
finally, vandal, to destroy public property. To be a vandal, vandalism is the crime. Remember that ism, and the verb is to vandalize.
Okay, that's about it. Thank you very much for coming. I would like you to visit el blog para aprender inglés and blog del inglés. In a couple of weeks, I'll post all this information in Spanish. Jose Ignacio says, I didn't know that the time had changed in Spain. Yes.
Yeah, they should stop doing that. Why do they keep changing the time? It's crazy. People are not working in the fields. They don't need it.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Felipe. He says he likes the etymology, the history of the terms.
Or maybe we'll do some more etymology next time.
I would like that because it's very.
Okay.
I'm very curious. I say, where does it come from?
I'll make a note. Etymology.
Thank you very much, Christine and Rafa. So time is over. Thanks. Oh, Christine's left. And Rafa says they live here. The Vandals when the Visigoths arrived here. Yeah.
The Vikings.
Thank you, Anilu. Thank you, Miriam. And,
thanks for being here.
Next time, and remember to visit Mansión del Inglés and Inglés Podcast. And we'll see you. I will see you in 15 days, and Craig is going to see you next week, I suppose.
Next week with Lynn, I think. Yeah, okay. I hope. So thanks for
Thank
watching, and have a happy Easter, and stay safe.
Happy Easter. Bye bye.
Bye bye.